This is very specific to storage providers, so if you're storing data on Filecoin, you want to become a storage provider. Me and my team put that together. It took us like 3 months to figure all that out. So it seems like a simple website, but the content itself is very catered to storage providers, especially new ones. So if you want to learn anything about a storage provider, this is the way to start. It will help you all the way. We divided it into like several specific parts. You see the economics one, that's the one that people talk about the most. What is the ROI, how does that work? If you go into the tokenomics of it, or economics, you can kind of dive into what everything means, especially on earnings, slashings, costs. I mean, this is like a rabbit hole you can dive into for hours. We had it tested, field tested by current storage providers that are used to working with it. They even learn new stuff. So this is really like everything together, just kind of diving into it. The fun part about it is that my colleague Bob, who just started, I think 4 months ago, I made him make it as like a starting project because he had to get up to speed really quickly. So we kind of worked on it together, and he structured it that way. And then we worked with the docs team. I don't know if you ever talked to them, but to get it on there. I think sorry, it's not touching. I usually have to get used to the whole Mac thing. I'm a Windows guy. I'm sorry. Very interesting on. I think we had the conversation last time I was here on how does it all work, the storage provider part, on the architecture, on how the deal flow works, how the data get in there. It's all mapped out here, especially on the kind of like the architecture around all the software itself that's being used, the infrastructure itself, everything you need to know, and the skill section, which I think is very interesting. I wrote most of that. It's kind of like explaining to you kind of the skill set you need. If you can see, like, it's very broad, right? It's like basically anything in the industry. If you're building a whole data center, you need all those skills to make that work. Definitely check it out. The network indexer, I had Bob put it on there because I know a lot of people work. I think Filecoin Green is another one. It should be in there somewhere. It's an initiative to make Filecoin as green as possible. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's kind of like explaining how several storage providers are working together with data centers that offer green energy, or we have some specific data centers built right now. There's one in the Netherlands, one in France being built, and I think here in Vegas, and they are building an entire solar panel on top of their data center specifically for Filecoin hosting. So to make that work, it's very impressive. I would definitely check that out, the Filecoin Green Initiative. Really cool to see what they're doing there. The cool part about it is it's not like, going green, because a lot of big companies and big tech companies talk about it as well. But because we integrated with Filecoin, you can see based on the storage provider, based on the data on the blockchain, you can see how efficient it is. Like, you can't lie about it. There is software being built that measures the difference between the consumption of power, what is doing on the blockchain, because we have all that data, right? So you can correlate that with the current hardware setups and everything, so you can actually see if it's green or not, right? While if you're hosting anything anywhere in a data center, you just have to believe the person telling you, yeah, it's green, right? So that's the big differentiator there. Some other things really interested is what I like, for instance, if you're more on like the components of Lotus, which is the main part, like software that we use right now. It's a diagram on that, kind of explaining the entire infrastructure that a storage provider is going through. Very interesting part is the sealing pipeline, which maybe some people talk to. Sealing as a service providers right now that offloads that. This is when you do it all on your own, like building it in-house, maintaining that. I do think that part is going to get out a little bit. be shifting, especially new ones will be shifting to sealing as a service providers, because the investment on that part is really high. So it depends on what scale you're going to go. Like if you're going beyond the petabyte scale, you're doing your own sealing cluster. Is it smaller, or you just need it like sometimes, or you need to onboard a big customer maybe twice a year? You just have a small cluster, and then you kind of offload the large set to the sealing provider. So it's very flexible on that.
And that's the biggest benefit of sealing as a service, is it is flexible. If you just need that storage like sealed immediately, and maybe your pipeline's already like full, or it's just nice to have that option.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's cheap compared to a sealing pipeline. I mean, I built a new ROI calculator, I think 2 months ago. Version 0.5 is online right now. It's also in the docs, but you can go directly to it. Let me see. There it is. I don't know. So you can also check that out. Kind of gives you a. The reason why I like presenting on the ROI calculator is not necessarily for people that want to become a storage provider, but if you have an idea on what a storage provider is going through to store your data. Because if you look at how much it's costing them, how much raw capacity compared to like the Filecoin Plus or data cap part that you need, like you mentioned a little bit earlier. You can see how the block rewards are coming in every 24 hours. It gives you kind of an overview of what's going on. They need to take on loans for the Filecoin for collateral, what impacts on that. And you can see what their revenue is based on the block rewards. But then if you look at what storage providers are doing on onboarding, using all the tooling you just used, talking to customers all the time, storing all that data right now at 95% discount or even more, it makes sense that they need to, get some revenue somewhere. So that's very interesting just to see how that works. There's some info buttons in there that like ties back to the storage provider docs to give you an overview on how that works. And on the infrastructure side, it's very interesting just to read. Even if you're just in general interested on how does a data center work and all the things you need to do around storage, very interesting read on that. Any questions on that? I don't know if anybody has a question or want to go over something specific on a storage provider part or anything.
It's all there.
That's why we made it, because we were having so many conversations with people that were scheduling meetings on, hey, how does this work? How does that work? That we wanted something to, point them to, go read all this, and if something's not clear, come to us, and we'll definitely dive into very specific subjects.
Definitely is really complex, but that's what that's why it's valuable. Really, that's the big value prop with Filecoin, is you have basically this, independently verifiable receipt that something actually happened, that somebody's actually storing your data, and
definitely.
You don't have to trust any third party.
No.
So.
No, it's true. I mean, there's several ways how you can use Filecoin. The big one that people are really focusing on right now is the new consensus model, like breaking it down, like you already mentioned. It's so interesting because if you're a blockchain developer, you have your own blockchain in 5 seconds. It's like one command. You just download an npm module, you start it, you have a new blockchain based on the Filecoin blockchain, and you can change any variable you want compared to what's in the blockchain, and then you only pull down the parts you want to sync in your blockchain part. And a lot of people are already looking at it like, oh, so we can use the same infrastructure and mechanism as Filecoin, and we can lower all the gas fees and all the pricing and all the block rewards to zero. Yes. Everything is just zero, so you're using all the features, but it's not costing you anything. You're also not making any block rewards, but you can just use all the tech and all the features for free.
Yeah. Oh, that's
use that in your
Amazing.
infrastructure,
Seriously.
and then it's
Yeah,
crazy.
When I heard that, I was
What do you call that again?
that's IPC.
IPC,
IPC,
yeah, the
okay.
interplanetary consensus model. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of scaling, you know, like people talk about side chains and lightning and things like that. Definitely, which you know definitely helps. But this is, I would say, a more mature solution.
Yeah.
Probably longer term, better solution.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it uses subnets, so it's you know it's basically still on the chain, but only when you want to interact with it. Essentially.
Yeah. I see it future-wise a lot because right now everything is in one blockchain. Gas fees are getting expensive now, especially with FVM launched. Everybody,
Right.
like a lot of developers are using it. Yeah, so
Right.
it's a normal evolution.
When you said it's like its own stuff, then it's like private.
It's private completely to yourself. Yeah, you can even like shield it from access. You can say, for instance, I created 50 wallet addresses. Only these 50 have access to my blockchain. You can really like you know.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
definitely use that.
Yeah, exactly. And you can shard it essentially. Then, like you know, if you scale, if your own blockchain gets too heavy, you can basically shard
you
it
can
and-
keep like
Yeah.
pulling it apart any
Mhm.
way you want. Yeah, it's so great.
I think that's a really
I'll
Yeah.
definitely use that, because remember some of the stuff we're talking about, like making it more CDN-ish
Mhm.
than kind of like cold storage.
Yeah.
If we had just like some hardware and then someone wanted to participate in that network, that's actually pretty cool.
I'm gonna ask one of my colleagues, or I might do it myself, to add some part on IPC on
Nice.
the docs as well,
Yeah.
just to
That's
have,
awesome.
because we're gonna address the store part as well, which right now is just focus on FVM a little bit. But I want to have more of a client view as well, because if you look at it from clients pushing or pulling data on or off Filecoin, it's a whole journey, right? You come into data, you bring your data, you need to have a conversation, you need to use what tooling it is, how does this all go, you're gonna go through a KYC or KYB process to get your data verified, because you want to store your data as efficient and as cheap as possible for most clients. So they do that, and then it's like bringing them in contact with storage providers, like getting it all on the network. It's a whole journey, and we need to map that out better.
Yeah.
And
Right.
same as these docs, like just a work in progress. So check it out. If you miss anything, I'm happy to add more. So we're working on that as we speak. I think. Let me see. Maybe one last one. No. Then another interesting part, but I don't know how I can pull that up. Do you have Miro? No. It's like it was very interesting what you were talking about on Delta and Ptolemy, because I'm the guy involved with solutions and architecture, so I started Project Motion a while back, and what it does is it integrates all those tooling and wrapping it with like a front-end API and kind of making it like, most people are used to just storing data with like S3-like, right? Just put a put or a pull or a delete or a list or whatever, simple. So we're building that so you don't need to worry about anything Filecoin related. So it abstracts everything you need to know about Filecoin, but still have all the features of Filecoin.
I will 100% use that.
Yeah, that's the next evolution. It's called Project Motion.
Nice.
I
Because
can-
we'll have the car file CID ready to go, and then just like we want to make it an option so someone can like check off if they want to put like a video or something that's like.
It's even simpler. You would just tell,
Should
here's the
be.
MP4. You just upload it like through a Python script,
Right.
like you just push it through a REST API or through an S3 command like you're used to.
Oh.
You don't need to worry about.
Yeah, and I think Delta, they optimized the one of the pieces. Again, depends if you even need the data prep anymore, but they were able to optimize like actually creating the comp by like
Oh, alright, yeah,
80% or
right.
something. Like
Angelo
they're-
worked on that a
yeah,
lot.
so they're also making it like way more efficient too, which is nice.
They are.
Yeah, it's really cool to see.
I'll bring the video.
Yeah, there you go, man. Seriously.
You saw it was pretty slick, right?
Dude,
It's like
yeah,
fast
that's
as
so cool. I love that you can embed it.
That's-
You,
Yeah, very cool.
you can
Well,
share that link and
Yeah, and
it
it's
just
and
uses
it's,
IPFS
it's
gateway. That's amazing.
yeah, it uses the gateway, but we want to make it so that you can back up your data or whatever. We're not like hold it hostage, but
I don't know if you have like Slack on here. So
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
quickly show it to you if you want. Because we have 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, we have some time. Filecoin Slack.
Oh, that's a big picture.
Did you just select it?
I just selected you, and I just opened up the Miro board.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like internal PL, but I can show you.
Oh, cool.
Show you.
Nice.
I built this like, so you'll have to help me out with this, like zooming in. How does that work?
Oh.
Is that
Kind of, yeah.
just like moving it around? Oh yeah, there you go. If you can put that. See if you look at it, this is kind of the same as like S3. Like it has the quick get, delete, building ACLs around it.
Yeah.
So what we're doing with Project Motion, kind of like wrapping it all together, making sure that it scales right. So what we're doing here is translating it into like spade or delta or lassie for retrieval, and like having built-in tracking and orchestration and all that, so you don't need to, you're just worried about this part, right?
Right.
So this offloads everything you need to know about Filecoin. It's a big project, but I've been pushing for it for months now, and finally everybody got it, that we need this.
Yeah, right.
I keep telling them, like, look, compared to AWS, like, it's like we have the bucket, but we don't have the
Yes.
S3 connector. Like,
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
the same
exactly.
problem
It's-
that we have right now, so we
Exactly.
need to do something about
Do I
it.
have to like FTP
Give us an
somewhere?
API. Yeah, they're just give us an API.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's like REST or S3, that's what they're
literally
asking
makes it
for.
cloud.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, and we need to accommodate for that, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, that's awesome though.
And then we had a whole conversation today with Magic too on the
yeah,
RIPS.
yeah. Spoke to him last week too.
And yeah, RIPS would cover multiple parts of this, but still RIPS would be the block store. Like I mentioned, like with the 32 gig sectors, prepping it basically. It's a big block, right? Most of them are like 2 megabytes to 64 megabytes
Yeah.
on like a file system. 32 gig is large, but still, I mean, it works for this use case. And then RIPS would be running here as cache basically, but still using lassie and spade or delta for the data making part.
Yes.
So it's kind of like making use of everything we have.
Yeah, awesome.
And then making one full stack solution, so
Right.
that is what we're working on.
Nice.
This, I drew it up yesterday, so this is very fresh off the
Amazing.
press,
Yeah, and
to work
And
on.
this will be open source.
Yeah, absolutely, everything we do
Yeah.
at PL is open
Yeah,
source.
that's amazing.
Yeah, we're not gonna,
Yeah, that's like.
yeah, I mean, if we
can't
develop
ask-
it, RIPS is open source, all
Can't
the
ask
rest is
for
open
more.
source, I mean.
Yeah.
And my biggest concern right now is pushing for support, right? Because enterprises want people that, you know, that it's not just one person. I mean, Magic is the person that
Yes.
developed
Right.
RIPS.
Yeah.
If we don't have anybody else, we cannot use RIPS, right?
Yes, yes.
So that's kind of like how we're doing research on all that
Yeah.
as well. It's not just, oh, let's build some tooling, because,
Mhm.
you know, I can script too, I can build something,
Sure,
but
right,
then
right.
what, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
100%.
so that's not what we want.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a
That's amazing.
little sneak peek.
Yeah, there's so much going on in this space right now. It's really.
Yeah, we'll do some like talking like next week too. I don't know if you're gonna go to consensus
Oh
or
yeah,
to the
yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, same.
You're gonna be there. Yeah, you're presenting, right? Or
Well, I'm just gonna be like chatting with people.
Sure.
I couldn't, I didn't know what like the schedule was or kind of like what days or whatever it'll be time on.
I
think it's more
looked
like-
at the links and it looks like the schedule is not even set.
there.
It's
Not
weird
there.
the week
It
before,
It was though,
but
that's what
yeah,
it was
okay.
there, and I was like, I saw one on
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah.
don't say anything, now I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's definitely. You'll be there for sure.
It'll be more chill. More relaxed.
Absolutely.